Hey, hello, my friends. How are you doing? Today, I'm here with AI Andy in Bangkok. He's specialized on AI automation, but also AI news, AI tutorials. You know me, of course, and we're going to talk about the AI trends for 2025 as we imagine them unfolding.
We have a big list here of a couple of things that we think is going to happen in 2025, and we want to share how you can use them and what to look for in 2025. Our predictions, I guess.
We're going to start it with AI agents.
Well, AI agents is some buzzword you see online a lot. So, like, it's going to revolutionize the world. And I think it's true. However, for the general public, AI agents aren't really that useful because you need to be able to code. You need to be able to go in terminal. And it's quite complicated for
You need a
most people.
code? Why do you need a code? I feel like for example, when I think about AI agents, I think about the deep search from Gemini. I think about Perplexity, so things that go multiple steps. And you can also, in the question, suggest multiple steps. Now, for example, one thing that's interesting with Gemini deep search is that you can describe the steps you want to go through, and then it will suggest to you what it thinks it should do. You can correct it, and afterwards it's going into a search, which can include actually hundreds of websites it's going to research. So that's pretty interesting. By the way, I was told today by a programmer for that this is not really real-time search. They have caged versions of these websites and go through that. I think they left their shoes behind. That guy with the... Do you want to run behind them? Okay. So tell me why you think you need coding for that.
The AI agents that I've tested are a concept. They work in the trailer for it, but when you actually try to use it, it just isn't good enough. And that's why you need the coding for the customization, the fine-tuning of the LLM, and you can get so much more granular with it. There's many examples of Zapier AI agents, for example. You can check my video on it.
Right. Yeah, it's still, of course, in the baby shoes in the early stages. But for what it does, I think it's already pretty good. It doesn't go super deep, I found. But for example, when you use Perplexity, it suggests for you follow-up questions, and with that you can go super deep. But also, you get more ideas on what to actually research on that topic. So that can be very useful. I also think, like in 2025, one of the big trends in AI agents is that it's going to be included in a lot of the work process in offices and a lot of content creation, maybe also the chatbot AIs that you can then have also these multiple steps doing things for you. And hopefully we'll see more like AI agents being connected to outside tools. So you can, for example, plan your day and it's adding it to the Google Calendar or other things like going shopping for you, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's definitely the dream.
Next topic is AI reasoning and inference. Let me explain that. Inference is basically giving the AI time to think about what the process is you want to do. So this is basically an extra model, more trained on the steps and reasoning, and then it's going to the actual LLM model and trying to figure out these tasks and write the text for you to give you the solution. But because of that, you can get a lot more out of the same LLM because you have smarter input from that one trained LLM, but also because they are two split up LLMs, you can train the reasoning LLM and make it much more advanced over time without having to update that huge LLM model that's running in the background.
Yeah, with the reasoning, it's one of the core parts of how I prompt my ChatGPT. I reason from first principles, and what that means for me is that I've found facts or frameworks or models in my head that I use, like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I want ChatGPT to reason from those principles. And this goes to LLM as a whole, like what is good, what is bad. It's very hard to answer those questions. So reasoning, something I use a lot. And obviously the O1 model from ChatGPT that has advanced reasoning is a really good step for the next generation, where you can try to find out what is true and what is not true.
Right, right. And an important part of that is with the reasoning that you have the AI do tasks for you that might take more time. I'm actually a fan of the AI being rather slower, and I come back maybe 10 minutes later and get a really good, deep answer than having it respond to me right away with a bad answer or not well researched answer. And with the reasoning, a lot of the stuff we do in daily life, even though personally we feel it's like an easy thing, for us is not easy for the AI to understand. You might find that out, for example, when you use Perplexity. I feel like Perplexity often is too literal about the question that I'm asking and giving me not the answer that I imagine in my head, but literally what I asked for at that moment. Reasoning should like improve on what is the human understanding, what does a human want to actually get out of that question.
Yeah, I think that's a good one for this.
Sorry, I'm talking too much. Go
All
on.
good.
Add
Yeah,
your insights.
yeah. I don't know how our reasoning is going to happen in 2025, but we did already see a couple of news from the ChatGPT OpenAI December that pointed in a really good direction. So yeah, can't wait to see.
Right. So now the next topic is where he can shine because that's AI automation. I don't know too much about that, but he's very good. He's also an expert about how to use, for example, Make, which is an automation process. He has a lot of tutorials on his channel about that. So go.
Yeah, with AI automation, one of the things that I personally changed everything for me was I used to make a couple of automations before with ChatGPT inside of Make, but they were never as good as I wanted, and they were never as robust as I wanted them to be. When you make like a crazy big system of different automations, it's usually that it breaks within a month or something like that. And that led me to find out about make.com as well as Airtable and combining these two.
Can you give a short example? What is breaking?
So things change online all the time. And with that, you have API calls or something like that. All of a sudden it breaks, and you have to do a multi-step process of debugging instead of the new model, which is the Airtable plus ChatGPT or plus Make. It allows you to run quite simple automations at the click of a button. So you have a button inside of Airtable, and with that, you just do one of the steps. And then you have another button that is the step number 2 that click one button, and then you do the second automation. And with that, you can create a 10-step complete AI automation from start to finish, where it's not one giant automation that's so complex nobody's gonna use it. But with this new system, it's basically you can select which steps you also want to do. So if you want to do search, you can click the search button and you use that keyword to do the search and do all the crazy automation. It could be a 10-step automation, but that button allows you to do that automation. So that has led me to the biggest breakthrough in automation. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do in 2025 with automation. And it's incredible for normal people that don't know how to use AI tools and integrate it with other softwares. Like it integrates with so many softwares now because it's so robust. It's been around for ages, this automation. But with ChatGPT integrated into it, it's almost like you have a second virtual assistant or researcher, or it's kind of what the agents, the promise of agents is AI automation, in my opinion, now.
Right, right, right. Yeah, absolutely. If I can give an example, so what I would use automation for is, for example, that an AI or this automation process goes on Twitter, looks at the most important influencers and the AI news they have posted, figure out which of them are the most important by, for example, the amount of reposts, comments, likes, but also the date, and then figure out, like, build a list from that and then search these news online to give me more information and write a doc on that for each of these news, so I can read through that and then also suggest to me, for example, titles, keywords, things that I can say about that, like keynotes. So all of this kind of stuff, you usually would have someone as a writer, as a researcher in your team that AI can do that automatically for you and save you a ton of time. So you can actually be focused on what you do best, which is like explaining it in basically a human way, in the way why people follow us, why we are good at our content, is the way we explain and bring the information to the people rather than having just like automated computer information, which is not the same thing, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot more I can say, but I want to share one example that I made recently for content creators. You could easily set up this automation that you have one search keyword. You can click one of those buttons I was talking about in Airtable, and just out of that, it will scrape 20 TikTok videos around that specific search keyword. And just like that, you did a lot of your research process. And then we have the second button that you can click, and then it transcribes the video that you want to transcribe. So say it was a really good idea, you want to see what's inside of the video, then you have the entire transcription there. And then you can obviously turn that into bullet points. You can transform the hooks. I show you the hooks, where you have 10 different hooks around different angles to take. And
Right.
with that, the research process and getting ideas, it's not that you're going to copy and paste like what they did, but with a lot of golden information, you can figure out what to make the next video and have a fairly decent chance at it going viral or getting more views than baseline.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, it's also not copy because like there is the same news for tons of channel who all report on the same topic, but you need to research the topic and you also need to find, like you said, a hook that's interesting for your audience. So a hook is basically where you have a certain tagline or something you say in the beginning to get people interested in the topic, but that has to fit to your audience, and also it has often to fit to the specific social media platform. So on YouTube, when you have a long format, you would say something different than with shorts, and you would again say something different on Twitter, because all of these platforms work in a different way, have different
Yeah.
audiences, have different forms of interaction. What else do we have here? Yeah, video, AI video, and VFX.
Wow.
Should I start with that, or should you start?
Yeah, you can start with that. There's
Okay.
100 topics I can go down here, but yeah.
All right. So I think like video, AI video is going to be really huge in 2025 because it's come a really long way. Of course, we need different tools. There's not one tool that is good at everything. So you want to combine these different tools. I think we will see like people who are really specialized in video editing and After Effects and Blender, stuff like that, to create really amazing results with that. And you have combinations where you have one tool that is really good at lip sync, another tool is good at body movement, like for example Wiggle. You have something like X Portrait, which is good with facial animation. You have something like Runway or Helio. I still don't know how to pronounce that, with like animation of landscape, but also animation of characters, things like that, and create like content in a lot of different ways. For example, a lot of things we already have seen is these kind of like memes that can be generated. You can, like I did recently, make this kind of music video, make short films, stuff like that. And this is both interesting for the big studios out there to use it, to integrate it in movies, in series, in advertisement, but also for the smaller artists, smaller creators, especially if you don't have any kind of like animation or any kind of like visual artistic background. They can't create that content but still want to have some cool content. They can use these tools. There might also be a lot of automation in there where the content is automatically created specifically for the niche audience who sees that kind of content. So you might see a different ad than your friend because you have different interests, right? So there's a huge potential for that, but also VFX. So a lot of people, especially I think in the West, really underestimate the ability of AI to be just a tool and maybe be 10 to 30% of the full process. I say in the West surprised because when I'm here in Bangkok, I see studios who do advertisement, who do animation, who do video games with that, who are super sophisticated, but they only use it a little bit. And then on top of that, they will add, for example, 3D characters, 2D animations, all these kind of things. They correct things in the video to get a stunning result that looks way, way better than anything you can create with AI only, because AI simply isn't there yet. But still, it saves a lot of time and gives them a lot of ability to be more creative and more flexible about what they want to create. Now over to you. Sorry.
It's incredible, and you gave me like so many hooks that I can
All
talk
right.
about.
There we
And
go.
I want to just mention that earlier today we met at a coffee shop that is called True Cafe, one of the biggest internet suppliers here in Thailand, and they had an ad that was right behind the cafe that was generated with AI. They had rabbits that were cozying together like Christmas style, and we could just. You asked me, "Is that AI?" I'm like, "That's AI." And you're seeing the biggest, one of the biggest. I don't know if they're the biggest, but so far up in Bangkok, um, doing advertising with AI, which just opens a whole new world to creative agencies that are doing this, marketing agencies and things like that. To bring it for content creators, one of the guys that we're going to have conference with in a couple of days, he said that I don't have any artistic skills. I can't draw. I can't do anything like that. But I always wanted to. And now it allows me to make things that I was never able to do before. And that just really touched me because it opens the whole creativity to the people that don't have video skills, they don't have image skills, they don't have like going around taking photos or acting or anything like that. They can now start creating, which is incredibly encouraging for me. And I don't know if we're going to talk about AI YouTube and AI social media video generation here. I literally just showed Olivio a video that has 4,700 likes, and it's just with an AI avatar, AI voice. So you're now seeing people making real impactful content on social media using fully AI generated softwares with obviously some training and some good editing and stuff like that. But it's a whole new workflow that I personally never seen before, which I can't wait to dive deeper into and see where it's going to evolve.
Absolutely, yeah.
Um,
It's
yeah.
like I also think like for the AI generated content from content creators, there's like two sides right now. We have a lot of like these really bad videos that just try to get views from like few farms basically who just
Yeah.
put up any kind of content, and they still get a lot of views. They get a lot of comments because a lot of people don't care where it comes from. They just want to have this kind of information. But there's also really good creators who just want to create more content or in a different or easier way
Yeah.
and want to use this kind of automation or want to mix AI into the process. For example, I'm also researching right now to use AI that does voice cloning. So, for example, for the video shorts, I can just sit in a cafe and when I see something cool on Twitter, I can type it with my own words into the voice AI, create a little short in CapCut and upload it to YouTube right away rather than having to wait until I get back to my studio and make a recording. I have to cut it, all that kind of process. The loop of generating content and being like on time to be the first and give you the nicest news is getting shorter and shorter. So this kind of like inclusion of AI into the process is actually a pretty important part. And as long as it's my language and my way to speak, my way to write, it's still my content. I'm using AI just to make it faster and make it easier.
Yeah. And the warning there is that I personally have never used ChatGPT's output in my videos and reading from it because it just doesn't sound like me. And that's kind of the job as a content creator as well. I think about myself as a simplifier, and ChatGPT might give you really weird words.
Right.
And I'm
It's
like, I gotta translate this into my own words. And usually I just read it and I write my own. So yeah, I think if you're gonna make AI content, don't copy paste. I don't think that there's any good workflow there.
Right. It's kind of interesting that I haven't seen yet any services offers to you that you can train the way you speak and write as a language AI so that I get text out of it that actually sounds like me. And even though, for example, ChatGPT has memory and has a lot of my input, it doesn't really know how I say things. I have even tried to use a text file of the subtitle of one of my videos. It didn't get even the start of it right and had a completely different intro. It didn't say, hello, my friends, how are you doing? But something completely else. So that is very strange.
Yeah, there is a possible way of fine tuning your own ChatGPT that might be the solution to this. And also with AI voiceover now, yesterday my friend asked me about it, and he's tried the 11 Labs Pro, and it's incredible. He has an accent, and still with his accent, it sounded so real. So I think we're at level 10 almost with AI 11 Labs voiceover. So that's a interesting.
Okay, let's go on to multimodal next, and also LAM, which is like action-oriented models, right?
Yeah.
I let you start with that.
The multimodality I think is really cool. For example, I use ChatGPT voice, like automated voice, as a way better prompting technique because you're just sitting there and just it's. I want you to make it a little bit more energetic, and then it just reads it back to you, and you don't really have to type, and you can hear how it sounds like, and yeah, the voice model I use almost more than ChatGPT itself, unless it's like bigger text-based pieces. But for specific answers and stuff like that, um, I want to get your thoughts on it because I know you have a lot with
Right, right.
video,
Okay.
audio.
Okay, so for me, I think it's really interesting to have these multimodal AIs be more integrated in how we do things. For example, to see my screen, to can help me with solutions on stuff that I have on my computer, to use the camera live when I want to figure something out in the real space, when I walk around outside. I also can't wait really for like more integration of these kind of glasses with a camera so the eye can see
Yeah.
what you're doing and then be like more hands-off integrated in the processes of what you want to do. Because even though AI is pretty cool right now, you often like have to sit down or you're kind of like bound to your phone, to your tablet, things like that. For example, yesterday I was just walking through Bangkok, going from one place to the next, and I was constantly on my phone just writing with different people. And I wish I could just do that by talking to the AI, and like the AI knows who I want to send this message to and just does things like that for me. So that would be super interesting. Or also like figuring stuff out on the go. I want to know, for example, right now I want to lose a little bit of weight. So it's kind of like hard to actually figure out how many calories does something have. So to research, you go to True Cafe and say, I want to have the signature cafe. How much calories does it have? And like, how do I find that out? I can't really ask the waitress there because she's not that good with English. So, and the AI also is like not really understanding what I mean. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
a little bit difficult. And I think like with seeing it with being better integrated, this kind of multimodality would like bring AI closer to our everyday process of life and actually make AI like a companion to us.
Yeah, with calorie tracking, it's something I started doing last year, and I was able to lose 20 kilos just by asking ChatGPT how much calories is in this. And I say like, oh, one toast with some butter on it, and tomato and a ham and sandwich, and it's like between 300 and 400 calories, and I would write that down in a book. And I wanted to track this more with AI, and I was like, there is a way to get an image and to translate that into what it actually is in words, and then to track the calories.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, somebody could actually do that and then send that to a spreadsheet and then track every calorie for me. Um,
You know what? I actually want to have like an AI mama who is like, hey, why are you still in bed? Hey, why are you eating bed right now? Hey, why are you watching movies instead of doing this? Or go outside, don't sit inside all day. Like, it's just something that pushes me. And it's kind of interesting. There is not any app, anything that does it like that, that it really supports to push you to do more things and better things. And also, I
yeah.
find it like interesting that for us, for our psyche, even though the AI can make a good day plan for us. For me, sticking to that is super hard because I have zero consequence on doing it. I make a plan and then 5 minutes later I'm already doing something completely against the plan. So it doesn't work for me at all.
Even when it's my own plan, I don't stick to it sometimes, you know.
Right.
And yeah, the assistant that you're talking about now, it's actually something I came up from one of our members, and they wanted like an accountability partner. They wanted somebody to call them, literally call them on the phone at this time and ask you, hey, did you eat this, or did you do that, and did you do that? And I was like, wow, that's a great idea, but I don't have any solution to it. Like, I don't know how to do that yet. But yeah.
I would love that. Another trend, I think, is like very, very big models and then also very, very small models. The reason for that is we need, for AI, you need to have a lot more information to make AI smarter. And that's going to be a problem when you have trillions upon trillions of parameters inside of an AI for it to be smart enough to give you the results you want to have and to connect these information points to each other, which also tells you a little bit about how extremely complex our own brain is to be able to handle all that kind of information at the same time. But of course, these kind of models have to run online because they're just too big, just like probably terabytes of size to run that on a huge server farm. But on the other hand, we also need very small models that are integrated into the everyday process. For example, small enough to run on your phone. In that case, they're just doing simple tasks, like maybe organizing tasks for you or shifting something around in your calendar, helping you with your photos, preparing a post for you want to do, or things like that, that make things better, or understanding your language, doing translation, like everything simple stuff that you want to do. And then I think like for the bigger models, I hope in the future we will have more of an ability to kind of like stream that to smaller devices so you can use the ability of these huge models, but you don't have to have the computers for that. Hopefully in a way that is also like price sensitive, that we can actually pay that, because right now you have like these super expensive things, ChatGPT, what is it called, Pro or something, $200 is just too much for the average person. And I think also with these kind of super large models, we will see more packages from companies like Google or even Microsoft that have a lot of functionality in there. So it's not just an LLM. It will also maybe do like video and images and music and all kinds of different things rather than just one thing, but also be integrated in their landscape of products, which is one thing I like about Gemini. Even though Gemini might not be super good at everything, or you have other AIs that are better at the other stuff, it is integrated in that. So when I say make me a table with this kind of information, it has a link for Google Sheets, I can copy it over. I say make a research for me, it writes a full report like 5-6 pages long. It creates a Google Doc for that. I can share it with other people. They can work on that with me. And so it makes it much more useful for me because it's integrated in the landscape I already use. I can also like access Gmail for that, searching through my mails, helping me with writing the mail, stuff like that, which, for example, is a security risk if you would connect it to the outside AI, because then I think even Google Mail for the customers, it doesn't really allow it unless you have like a business account to interface with the actual email content out of security reasons. So what is your view on that?
I think the mix of a small one and a large one is incredible. And the reason for that is just price. When I run an automation, for example, I can choose between all the different LLMs, and I choose for the hard tasks, which would be something like an outline or a research process, which I care a lot more about than, for example, just summarizing an article. If I'm just summarizing an article, they don't need to be that smart. If you do correct prompting with, for example, 4o small, it does really well, and the context window on it as well is pretty huge. So you get a really good deal for very cheap. And the second thing that you talked about is on devices. So I have the Apple Watch Ultra, but the Ultra 2 actually has a neural processing engine inside. So it does these small LLM things on device. If it needs to do the big LLM things, it goes off device. And that's how I'm seeing it develop in the tech world as well. And like you said, the streaming it to devices from cloud or getting it something, having a like a great computer and then streaming that to, for example, a phone or for example a watch, is something I've also been thinking about that I think could be really good when it comes to glasses, for example, where you don't have so much space, but you can have a secondary device that kind of streams or connects to your device with more power and, I don't know, NPU, GPU, CPU, that you might need for the LLMs.
Right. Okay, as a last point, what is your biggest outlook for 2026? One thing you think is going to be the huge thing then?
In 2026, so from 1 year from now, I think that we're gonna probably, I'm more on the automation front, so I can see that going really far this year and next year. People getting worked on faster, starting to make these workflows that do things that their company, like one person in their company has done this for years, but it's actually just an automated process that you could do. Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest one that I'm focusing on myself. So I would have to say that.
Right. Okay, cool.
And what about
For
you?
me, yeah, for me, I think in 2026, the biggest thing is going to be AI generated UI. So you just don't go into ChatGPT and have an answer in a text form. It actually generates a website for you, or maybe even a short video or things like that, that is presented for you in a nice way, in a visually interesting way. And the UI is changing based on what you want to see, how you want to interact, even if it might, for example, be a small application rather than saying, hey, write me the code to do this and that, or maybe have a calculator or something like that. It will just generate a calculator or generate a little like graphic program for you so you can do a little bit of editing for your social media post just for that occasion, and then being specific through the AI and not just a language AI or an image AI. So you can actually use it better. And I feel like this is the extension of what we have as a transformation in the smartphone, going away from the keyboard to an app that can do anything on the screen. Now the screen can morph into anything we need for that specific process. All right,
Yeah.
that's it for the trends for this year. Let's see how much comes through
Yeah.
at the end of the year. And thank you for watching.
Thank you so much for having me on the channel. That's incredible. And yeah, the AI space is just so fun to be in right now. And thank you guys for joining us today.
And please write in the comments if you want to see more videos of us talking about AI topics and what kind of topics you want us to talk about. Thank you and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.